endowed, as our nation is, with abundant physical resources, and inspired as it should be with the high purpose to make those resources and opportunities available for the enjoyment of all, we approach this problem of re-employment with the real hope of finding a better answer than we have now.
Your stuff can be more powerful than you think. Your stuff can be a resource for change. Donate to Goodwill, where your donations help fund job placement and training for people in your community. Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org.
Blues America, taking you down to the crossroads. You ready? You ready? You ready?
Blues America is supported by Record High Vinyl Store in Phoenix, the place for serious music fans and vinyl collectors to find large quantities of first pressings, limited editions, box sets, audiophile, and vintage catalog, including blues, soul, jazz. They buy, sell, and trade, and offer vinyl cleaning and flattening service. Visit the store, located at 4242 East University Drive in Phoenix, or for more online at recordhighinphoenix.com. Like them on Facebook. Record High in Phoenix. Experience one of the last great record stores.
Blues America gotta pay the rent, baby. Become a Blues America sponsor and promote your business on the show while helping to keep the blues alive. Your message will reach thousands of potential customers on the radio and online. We have affordable sponsorship packages to meet your marketing and media objectives. For more info, visit bluesamerica.com or email bluesamerica@gmail.com.
Damn right we got the blues. Blues America, right now. Members only tonight. Members only. It's a private party.
If you just turned this thing on, let me tell you what you're doing. You're listening to Blues America. I'm your host, Drew Verbis, and I'm broadcasting from the Chico Chisholm Memorial Studio with today's special guest, the legendary singer Jerry Lawson, and my guest host, the Persuasions expert Julie Lawson. Blues America is a little program from Arizona, broadcasting locally from KFNX Radio and featuring your source for blues talk. More information is available on our website at bluesamerica.com, including the playlist, the photo of the week, and the blues news. Contact the show at bluesamerica@gmail.com, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter and Spreaker. If you missed anything, that's okay. Just press rewind on our streaming media feed online now. Also, welcome to the program, YAP Radio 101.7 FM in West Virginia, MDORadioblues.com, and beautiful British Columbia on Powell River Radio 90.1 FM.
You qualify. Don't bring your checkbook, just your broken heart, 'cause it's members only.
Jerry, you were talking about you were you got hired with the Persuasions. This is really early on, before you guys have recorded,
right,
to do a special concert, and lo and behold, you get there and the Kennedys are there.
Oh my God! And I'm saying, isn't that Robert Kennedy? And I say, and I say, boy, we hanging out with some heavies. You wouldn't have know them, Judge Jones and a lot of Mr. Gaither. And I was saying, we went from singing on the street corner, now we're singing, in front of, we call them very important people. Well, the Persuasions, you start to thinking, boy, we getting around now,
Well, I'll tell you what I'd like to know is this amazing group came together with all these different personalities and characters. I'd like to know, let's back it up a little bit and have you explain to us how this group came together, how the friendships formed, and maybe if you could share some of the prior experience. Were you guys in other bands and that sort of thing?
You know what? Let me just say, to tell the truth about how the Persuasions got started, well, I said that your name didn't come to Persuasions till later. A guy, his name was Andy Cole. He just loved the Temptations, and he heard me and Jimmy. and he wanted us to sing with his group.
How did he hear you guys? Were you guys like south?
Me and Jimmy would sing. Me and Jimmy would sit on the stoop of the house that we lived in, and we would just sing.
Oh, so you guys lived together?
No, Jimmy, we lived 2 doors down. I lived at 53. I think he lived at 58 Green Avenue. And we would go to work in the morning. We worked downtown Brooklyn. He worked at A&S. I worked at Goodwin's department store. And after work, we would sing. We would harmonize. Jimmy and I, we would harmonize. And Andy Cole Andy Cole would come by and he said, "Man, you guys could really, sing. Let me join you." So Andy Cole said, "Let's put together a group." So the group started with me, Jimmy, Andy Cole, Jimmy's friend from Hopewell, Virginia, Prince Nesbitt. That was the group that got started.
Was Andy a white guy? Or?
No, Andy was black.
Okay.
Andy
He
Cole
lived in the neighborhood too?
Andy Cole lived in the neighborhood. Andy Cole, Prince Nesbitt, he lived in the neighborhood, which was Jimmy's boy. He was baritone. Andy was tenor. Me and Jimmy. That was the group, which was no name. We had a great sound. Well, Joe sung with a group called the Persuasions. And Joe, he heard us singing. He didn't want me in the group. He wanted Jimmy. Jimmy was a bass. His group, the Persuasions, they wanted Jimmy to sing with them. So they told Jimmy, they say, "Look, we're having a rehearsal next Wednesday night. Come down and, you're going to be the bass for our group." Jimmy said, "Well, let me bring my boy down, Jerry. Maybe y'all want to hear him do a song." So I went down and I sung Up on the Roof. Well, Bob Samuels, who was the leader of their group, the Persuasions, he didn't like me. So he wanted me to leave the rehearsal. That's what they said. I didn't say that. Jimmy, he said, "Well, maybe you want to, I know y'all got your own lead, but maybe you want to hear my boy sing a song or two." So I sung, "If this old world starts getting you down, people are just too much for me to face." And all the group, all of them say, "Yeah, man, blah, 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 blah." So, they said, "Yeah, well, Jerry," one thing led to another. Bob Samuel say, "Well, we don't really need no lead. We need a bass." So they put me out, the rehearsal. Well, the next week, Joe came and he said, "Look, I don't like your boy, but I sure like the way he sang, and I'm not going to sing with the Persuasions no more. Why don't we get together and get us another group?" So we put Joe in our group. Still, we don't have a name. Now it's me, Joe, Prince, Jimmy, and Andy Cole. Well, Joe and Andy, they didn't get along at all. So Andy quit and Joe took over. Joe was the leader of the group. Prince left and went to live in Manhattan. Joe said, "I got a guy that's in California, but he'll be home next week." We come to find out California was jail. Tubo was in jail. Tubo wasn't in California. All the time I thought Tubo was in California until we came to find out Tubo was in jail. And Tubo came and, it was so funny, because I asked Tubo, "What happened? Why did you go to jail?" And it come to find out that Tubo and his friends had robbed a bar. And the bar was in Bay Ridge. Bay Ridge is a part of Brooklyn that only white people live. They figured they was going to rob this bar at 12 o'clock at night. And when they robbed the bar, they didn't get nothing but change. They got $100 in quarters and pennies and dimes. And it was hard for them to carry, So when they ran it, they had this guy, his name was Frenchie. He was the driver of their car. The getaway car. And so he was waiting in the car. Tubo and his boy, they went in and robbed the bar. And the man gave him a sack full of quarters and dimes.
So let me make sure I'm following the story. So Tubo robbed while Frenchie waited out.
Right. Now, wait, let me get there. See, Tubo, it ain't no group. Tubo is in jail. This is when I found out Tubo was in jail. When Tubo was telling the story, this was just Tubo, because we wasn't there. So Tubo said they tried to rob this bar out in Bay Ridge at 2 o'clock in the morning, and Frenchie was the driver of the car. Well, Frenchie didn't really know how to drive. He drove the car back in the bar, through the window of the bar. And they jumped out and took off running. Now, you got 3 black guys running in Bay Ridge, all white neighborhood, at 2 o'clock in the morning with a sack of money.
With $100 worth of quarters.
With $100 worth of quarters. Because none of them want to, they saying split up. They don't want to split up because you're going to split up and you're going to take the money, if you split up. So the police see these 3 guys running in the middle of the night, and they say, they pull them over and they say, first of all, what are you doing out here in this neighborhood at 3 o'clock in the morning? And Tubo said, we're coming from a party. Coming from what party? At 3 o'clock in the morning in Bay Ridge. You know what I mean? If you would have robbed a bar in Bedford-Stuyvesant and Brooklyn, the police wouldn't even stop you because you was in your natural, Well, anyway, Tubo wasn't in California. Tubo was in jail. And Joe said Tubo was getting out. Well, Tubo came out of jail. Prince Nesbitt had moved, which was our baritone. Tubo came in, and Tubo was the baritone. So now you got Jimmy, Tubo, Jerry, and Joe.
Let me ask you a question here.
And Nicole quit.
So you got the
we got 4
you got
guys.
the first lineup in. Now the first lineup is in place.
Right.
And before we go into the first song from the acapella album, I wanted to ask, tell us about when you guys first began to start harmonizing with that final lineup that you have in place.
Well, we still need a tenor. We still need a tenor. A young man told us, he said, look, we thought about this guy being the tenor. And he said, no, he said, I'm singing by myself. But I know a guy that sing tenor. His name is Jay Otis. And we went and we listened to Jay Otis. Well, Jay Otis wasn't a tenor like we wanted. Because Jay Otis sung a little bit of jazz, Jay Otis, let me just say, Jimmy was from Virginia. Jerry is from Florida. Joe is from North Carolina. Tubo is from South Carolina. And Jay was from Detroit. Jay had a different sound than that sound that we were looking for. But we wanted a tenor. And we wanted a tenor bad. And so Joe always said we put Jay in the group. He didn't have nothing to do with putting Jay in the group. But thus you got the Persuasions. You got the 5 Persuasions.
So I have a question.
Go ahead.
If that's the way the guys came together, what's the whole story that's been told through the years that actually these are the voices that stood out the most on the basketball court? Well, those 2 stories don't coincide.
No, well, after Jay joined the group, and we started really harmonizing and putting the harmony together, it was those 5 voices that you started hearing.
Okay, so you would all be playing basketball.
We all played basketball.
And after the games, you would sing on the court just to amuse yourself.
Yes.
And those are the voices that also just stood out the most because you had already come together and been practicing.
We had already came together and we had been practicing. So those voices really stood out.
Okay.
And it stood out more because the songs that we had been practicing, although everybody on the basketball court would join in and sing, they would stop at a certain part because we had arrangements. Mm-hmm. We started, it was the way we practiced the song. Everybody would sing. It's like everybody would sing, my girl, my girl, my girl, whoa, whoa. And you got all the guys on the basketball court singing my girl. But there's a part in there that would stop and go, do, 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 do. That was the part that we had practiced. The guys on the basketball court didn't know that. Some of the stories that I've told through the years. Right now, when you reminisce, you can go back, and I guess there would be my version, Joe's version, Jimmy's version.